This is the Digital Marketing Experts Podcast episode. No, why am I trying to sound like a radio announcer? Experts in the Wire, episode 14. Katherine Romero. Hey everyone, welcome to episode 14 of Experts on the Wire. Today we have Katherine Romero on the line. She was the Senior eCommerce Marketing Manager for the Deckers portfolio, including brands like UGG Australia, Teva, and Sanuk. She now runs her own agency called MAKA Digital, helping brands build digital happiness. I love that phrase. This interview is action-packed with Katherine's knowledge about the intersection of PPC, SEO, PR, content, and many digital marketing channels within brands. She's going to tell us many things. A few of them are how to set up an affiliate program, how to get offline retailers to take digital marketing seriously, and why at Deckers they loved when the Google Panda penalty came out. So sit back, relax, and enjoy today's episode with Katherine Romero. Can you give me a quick background on basically how you got into marketing and take us all the way up to where you're at today?
Yeah, for sure. So it's kind of an accident that I fell into digital marketing. So I was interning my last semester of my senior year, and what would have been my senior year of college. And I was a psych major. And so I went and did an internship at an intake unit here in Flagstaff, Arizona, and quickly realized psychology was way too intense for me and not something I wanted to do. So I stayed an extra year. I didn't want to change my major because, I was already 4 years in. So I just stayed an extra year trying to figure out, what I want to do with my life, and took some marketing courses. And one of them was on digital marketing. And we had a guest speaker come in, and he was raving about SEO at the time. He was so excited about affiliate programs that he was just launching. And he had such passion that he brought to the guest lecture. And at the end of it, he said, hey, by the way, I'm accepting some internships. You guys will get paid in shoes. Unfortunately, we can't afford to pay you. But, take a business card if you're interested. And so I did. And, that was over 12 years ago. And I've just been in the field since then, loving every aspect of it. And I actually see a lot of parallels between digital marketing and kind of the social sciences, right? There's the rigor of research, data mostly, right? And then, just studying people and their behavior. So it was a really great kind of natural fit for me and a great segue into what's so far been an amazing, just incredibly fun career.
Absolutely. And we might take small digressions if that's okay with you. In your Twitter profile, you say that you like to study people. And does that kind of tie into the marketing that you do? Can you talk about that just a tiny bit more? Yeah,
it absolutely ties into the marketing I do. Sometimes I worry if I get a little too far down the rabbit hole, especially with all the data that we have. It's what's always drawn me into the field is any one of us have an idea, we can go run with it today. And depending on what marketing channel we're executing that idea on, we'll know, this afternoon or tomorrow morning if it's headed in a good direction or a bad direction. And so being able to see how people are responding to the things I put out and my teams are putting out that's just a social scientist's dream and a marketer's dream right there.
Absolutely.
So,
do you find yourself studying people in a non-data kind of way, like just kind of out in the world?
I do, yeah. So I was in-house for a number of years at a company called Deckers, and we can get into that a little bit if you want to later on. And so Deckers, is a shoe company. It's a parent company of something like 8 shoe brands now. And so, it came kind of just second nature that as I'm in an airport, I'm studying what kinds of shoes people are wearing and what they look like and what kind of gear they're carrying with them and, where they might be headed off to and, just kind of building these mini personas, if you will, in my head of who this target consumer is. And now that I've broken out and done the consulting side, we have clients in what I'm calling the lifestyle space. And so just studying how those types of target consumers are interacting with what could be the brand that I'm managing it's just really, it really creates a rich kind of experience in the offline world for me. But sometimes I get a little too far in my own head and it can be a little overwhelming just thinking all the possibilities of how I could reach that consumer online. But
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. That's great. So let's circle back to kind of your path. So you worked for the Deckers company, the Deckers brands. And I think about 18 months ago, you kind of stepped into your own agency. So can you tell us quickly about that? I really like your homepage, by the way. It says, "We help brands create digital happiness." I love that. Can you tell us about that a little?
Absolutely. So, 10 and a half years or so in-house at Deckers. When I left, I was the head of digital marketing, and I oversaw all the acquisition channels. So, SEO, paid search, affiliate programs, marketplaces like Amazon, lower funnel display, etc. And one of the challenges at Deckers was blending the online channel, which is, of course, very profitable, right? You book basically double margins when you sell a product online, direct to the consumer. But blending that and not competing too directly with the offline channels, the retailers, the REIs of the world, the Nordstroms of the world, etc. And on top of that, managing just a brand image and making sure that we're driving really aggressive revenue. Deckers has been a successful company, driving that aggressive revenue, but doing it in brand appropriate ways. And oftentimes that has a lot of those challenges have conflicted. And so when we started MAKA Digital, we decided, okay, what we're going to put first is the consumer experience, which when you're a public company, you want to do that and you do that as much as you possibly can, of course. But a lot of times that, doesn't mean it's the first thing. And so we want to put the consumer experience first with MAKA Digital and create kind of this digital happiness ecosystem where it's a phenomenal consumer experience. We are meeting these brands' goals and we're driving the revenue. But first, we're looking at what that experience looks like and how the consumer is resonating or not resonating with that.
And that's a huge topic area, just saying digital happiness. It's like saying digital marketing. I mean, I try to do SEO specifically and find myself only going into, let's say, keyword research or technical audits. Like even SEO is a giant field. So my question is, how do you kind of wrap your head around just the vast amount of topics you're covering, and maybe speak first to running to helping Deckers in-house? How are you managing all of that? Do you have specialists within each field helping you? Like what was kind of your day-to-day and how were you working with the different teams?
Yeah, for a lot of years, it wasn't something so easy to kind of organize and execute against. Like I said, there were some challenges and there continues to be in all the companies that we interface with today, of just an executive team that doesn't totally get digital, it doesn't totally get online, maybe not be at the place where they really see the value in it. And they're still in the traditional retailer mindset of, our retailers get us that massive footprint in the offline world. And so we're going to put them first. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. That's a very important thing. But it also means oftentimes online takes a back seat. And so for many years at Deckers, we were still kind of I'm not going to say proof of concept mode, but just proving the value that we can add to the offline world in our traditional retailers. And so we didn't get all the resources that we would have loved to have gotten to build phenomenal teams and very large teams and great tool sets. But really what kind of the pivotal or the pivot point for us was, Panda came along and we didn't have any penalties for any of our websites that we were managing. But we realized if we didn't start to put the consumer experience first and start to build these great, rich experiences, doing what we're doing is not going to get us to that next level. And we were already seeing that, just some of our SEO stats starting to decline or stagnate at least. Revenue wasn't coming in as strongly as it once was. We were seeing kind of some early indicators that brand awareness was slipping, not as many people direct loading or even searching, things like that. And so we were able to get some resources for a content marketing department as kind of a proof of concept. And so the way I organized it under me at the time, this is in the early start of inbound marketing as a kind of term, right? And so we went and kind of roadshowed all over the country to all the different executive teams of here's content marketing and here's all the phenomenal ways we can build your brand first and create these rich consumer experiences first. And when we do that, the revenue is going to come. We're going to get the traffic. We're going to get the revenue.
And at about what year was this? You said it was kind of the beginning of inbound?
Yeah, we had started, let's see, I would say late 2011, early 2012 is when we really started hitting the road hard.
Yep. And so one of your first objectives was to communicate this to the higher ups within Deckers, like you said, to go around the roadshow. So would you say that is still a challenge today for a lot of brands, is convincing the higher ups that digital marketing is a valid channel?
It is still such a challenge. Selfishly, thankfully, it's still a challenge because a lot of companies hire us for that exact thing, to come into what they might call a sales meeting or some kind of meeting where they've brought in the global heads of marketing and brands and product to like an annual type meeting, right? And we come in and we do kind of a soup to nuts analysis of where they are today and where those gaps are and where digital can help fill those.
And what are they having a hard time seeing? Just the tie into revenue, or like does their brick and mortar revenue and business growth still overshadow digital? Like where are they having a hard time seeing that?
It does. Yeah. The clients that we work with, every single one of them, and it was the case at Deckers as well, the offline revenue does overshadow the online revenue. And so when you're, 10 to 20% of a company's revenue, you're not going to be the first thought necessarily, even though you're that direct contact to the customer. You're not going to be the first thought when it comes to resources and budget cuts and allocating the finite amount of things that they have to allocate. And so that continues to be the challenge. A lot of the clients that we are working with are brands that have been around for 20, 30, 40 years. And so they do have those traditional mindsets, and it's not a bad thing. They have been very successful doing what they're doing, but that still continues to be that challenge.
That's right. So they've been around pre-digital, of course. Now,
Yeah.
what are within digital marketing? What are some channels? You mentioned SEO. I know you do some PPC and ads. What are the channels that you're seeing being most effective for these brands in the digital space?
Yeah, search, particularly within SEO, is something everybody can get. It's something they can go online, they can do, and they understand that that's the consumer experience. And so that's a very easy thing for them to wrap their minds around. Paid search seems to be a little bit more difficult just because it's a little bit of a black box, right? They know they put dollars in and they know they see an ad, but why do we need to pay when we could just show up number one in organic and be good and call it good, So paid search, that's usually not the first channel we lead off with a brand new client. We got to get them comfortable with some SEO results. And then, we might start off with a small amount of remarketing to kind of build that momentum and then roll out to a full digital paid media plan.
Interesting. I know that we might chat a little bit about the intersection of SEO and PPC. I'm curious so one thing I've seen is that PPC can quickly show what conversion rates might be for SEO. So if they're not ranking for anything, you can do PPC up front to show what maybe a conversion rate or revenue might be from search. But people aren't taking that approach. It's not being seen as valuable to do PPC first. You do SEO first?
We do, mostly because the kinds of keywords we would be going after in paid are non-brand, and those don't convert at a very high rate. And so we can't prove the ROI of it right away. We can show them, it's feeding all these other channels and it's more upper funnel. It's an assisting in a lot of ways. But when we're so early in an engagement and it's proving out, and it's not only proving to the direct client themselves, but to that client's executive teams, right, who have the budgets and the final say. We're looking for as much momentum as we can build early on. And that's traditionally not paid search unless there's a handful of keywords that are just so relevant and are non-brand that we know will convert. Then we'll, of course, we'll start there.
Got it. Makes sense. So I want to shift a little. This stuff's all been super interesting so far. I hope the listeners find it interesting as well and valuable, of course. What about, you mentioned retargeting. So is this something you're seeing like you're doing this initially? Do you continue doing this over the long term? Does it show a lot of value for these e-commerce sites in the digital space?
It does. Retargeting is one of those channels that, much like affiliates, it's been beat up on. And thankfully it has, right? We are so much more intelligent when it comes to marketing through that channel. And so it's one that we love to start early on as much as we can. And we just keep it going as long as we can, as long as the client has the budget and we're meeting ROI goals. We love to keep it going because the traffic is there already, right? Whether or not we're doing paid search or any other marketing, the traffic's there. There's traffic to leverage. And remarketing is just one of those easy kinds of low-hanging fruit where we see, even on a last click kind of attribution basis, we see really strong ROI. And it's nothing sophisticated or fancy we're doing. We're not rolling out to, cutting edge vendors that have the next greatest optimization algorithm or anything like that. A lot of what we do is just through Google's display network and rolling out remarketing that way.
Do you see any common mistakes that people are making with remarketing?
I do. The most common mistake is they see it going and they see it doing well and a great ROI. And then they think they can put so much more money into it and get so much better revenue and ROI. And that's just one of those channels where it's not the case. There's this fine line between getting a great impression share and hitting a decent frequency. But then when you're over pinging that customer with your ads, it's not any more effective. You're just wasting ad dollars.
Right. So there's like a diminishing return, in other words, on that makes total sense. So I want to circle back to, we were talking a little bit about the challenges of this space in terms of that they're so used to the offline. Now you're trying to get them to online. Can you talk a little bit more? So you went a road show, you try to convince the higher ups to venture more into digital. Maybe you're running a few things, remarketing. I would imagine there's some quick wins at the beginning, like you said, remarketing, maybe getting some SEO and content going. But there's probably a point that you are getting at, maybe at the 6-month mark or the 12-month mark, where it gets a little challenging because now you don't have those quick wins and you're kind of in that hazy gray area where maybe the wins aren't as easily apparent and you still need to show the value of it. So what kind of happens once you've gotten those quick wins over with and now you're kind of in the thick of things?
Yeah, that's a great question. I don't know if we're uniquely positioned necessarily at MAKA Digital, but we are full service, right? So as head of digital marketing and my business partner, Margaret, she also has a wide variety of experience in multiple channels. This might be cheating too, but once, SEO results aren't kind of hockey sticking up and, we're just seeing that slow, steady growth and then paid search maybe is in the mix, we can take on other channels that might be appropriate for a client's business. And so, once we've executed on a great SEO strategy, a great SEM strategy, what's next? We might, decide to fire up an affiliate program or, start some content strategy and content marketing. And usually we do that to a small degree, sometimes to a larger degree when we're talking to SEO engagement. But we can continue to add in all these channels and elevate the client's business.
What does kind of the decision-making process look like there? But when you're deciding between affiliate or maybe Facebook ads or social media, like how do you decide? There's so many options. Yeah,
you're right. There are so many options and there are so many ways to slice and dice what might be appropriate to add to the mix. We take a look at the clients. So the clients we're working with are all brands, right? And so we take a look at the strength of a brand and kind of the awareness of a brand. And usually we can just kind of tell those things like with Google Trends, right? If search demand for that brand's term is growing over time, we know that brand's onto something. If it's starting to decline, then that's a whole different mix we might bring to the table. So if it's a really strong brand, usually the next channel we'll go to is affiliate marketing. That's almost a no-brainer, right? It's people want this brand is hot. Affiliate partners can be great extensions of the brand if you really partner closely with them. And so, it's also one of those that's the ROI is guaranteed, basically, right? You're only going to pay when you get the sale. So clients love that aspect of it.
So let's say I'm a brand, and I don't mean to interrupt. I like to kind of keep things a little rapid fire, and these questions pop up. So let's say I'm a brand and I'm selling shoes, just hypothetical example, like you have experience with, and I want to set up an affiliate program. What are kind of the initial steps to take? Is there a platform for that? Like, what do you actually do to set it up?
Yeah, there's multiple different platforms. There's the big players like Share a Sale, Commission Junction. They've rebranded since and been bought multiple times. And then there's Linkshare. What we found is Share a Sale, and I have no affiliation with Share a Sale, but their platform is so easy to get up. I literally just got a client up in a matter of 3 days from beginning to end, recruiting affiliates on day 3 and day 1. We were just barely setting up the business profile. And so that platform is just so easy to get going that I think it's one I'm going to start to use a lot more.
And how does the brand find the affiliate partners? Is it existing customers or people that are affiliates for other companies?
Yeah, it's people who are affiliates. So there's the big well-known ones out there like Retail Me Not and Ebates, You Promise, etc. And then there's the smaller guys, and those smaller guys tend to be really great extensions of a brand. And, I can't name any particular one because it just varies depending on the vertical a client is in.
Yep.
But there's great, outdoor gear review sites. And to get showcased on one of those, you might get in front of an audience of 18,000 people, which when you're talking a very large brand isn't a huge audience. But those 18,000 people are so core to that brand that they can really kind of start this small, amazing kind of social fire for you and just really get your brand some great appropriate reach.
Yeah, that's excellent. I definitely like the affiliate idea. So what are some maybe cons to an affiliate program or just things to be aware of or look out for?
Yeah, yeah. Like I said, affiliate marketing in the past has gotten a bad rap because there are some of the players out there that, and the networks have done a phenomenal job cracking down on these guys. So they're not so rampant anymore. But there were the affiliates out there, pre 2010, I'd say, that were just kind of black hat affiliates. They're whatever they can do to stuff a computer full of cookies is what they're going to do. And so it ended up back then that merchants were paying a lot of commissions out for sales that they were going to get anyway. And so, like I said, the networks have done a phenomenal job. Affiliate agencies and partners themselves have done an excellent job of overcoming that. And so some of the mistakes I see partners make, or merchants make rather, are really not tightly managing it. Yeah, those guys aren't rampant so much anymore. But if you really care about your brand and your brand's image, you've got to be in the affiliate program every single day, talking with your partners, managing it, making sure you're approving the right ones, watching out for any red flags on the bad ones, getting those guys out of your program as often and as quickly as you can. And then the other big mistake I see is just kind of one size fits all. Each partner has their unique competitive advantages, right? And they all require different creative, different tool sets, different product features, different commission rates. And so really building kind of those custom packages will just take your program so much further than just trying a one size fits all and creative and commissions for everybody.
So the two mistakes are really lack of paying attention to it, lack of good management, keeping an eye on it, and also just being too generic about it. So not having kind of custom things or like doing something just more than a default solution.
Exactly. Yeah. Default's a great place to start, but I'd say probably 30, 60 days after your program launches, really get one-to-one with these affiliates and start building some custom deals and offers.
Awesome. Let's talk a little bit about content, because I think not only e-commerce sites, but all companies, all types of sites are really concerned about content. And the first question I have about this is, what type of content did you see working, or do you see working well for these types of brands?
Yeah, this might sound like a no-brainer, but the type of content we go after first, and it's the type of content so many brands just completely miss, is what we call service-oriented content. So what we'll do is, if a client or a customer has a call center, we'd love to go into that call center and sit and listen to a day's worth of phone calls. If they don't, usually they have some kind of like system where they've captured the feedback, and we'll take a look at that. We go into the internal site search log of these sites and see what customers are actually searching. Of course, we'll take a look at keyword data within Google Analytics or even Google's keyword tool. We'll gather as much data as we can to find out the problems customers are having with that brand. And for example, one of the brands I managed in the past is UGG Australia. A lot of people call them Uggs. And so many people had no idea how to clean their UGG boots. And we had a page of how to clean it with instructions, and it was a sales page selling the kit, the cleaning kit. But they were so outdated, and it was just text, and it was not dynamic at all, and it wasn't the right platform for like Pinterest, where people were saying throw them in your washing machine with some baking soda, which is the worst thing you can do. So it's easy wins like that, the service-oriented content where you're just filling that customer service need.
Right. So it's like an FAQ. I had a friend say to me once that he got Post-it note stickies, like the sticky stuff from Post-it notes on his coffee table, and was trying to search on Google for how to clean it, and couldn't find anything. And I guess somebody finally told him to use Gugon, but Post-it note should have that resource. So I think that's a good parallel. So when I love this idea about sitting into the call center, by the way. A parallel in my mind is I've been talking to the sales departments of the clients I work for to try to get as close to the customer as possible. When you sit in on these calls, like what are the types of things that you listen for, or how do you kind of, I mean, there's a lot of information probably coming at you in a whole day. So two things, what do you listen for? And then how do you kind of keep track of all that to make it actionable?
Yeah, it's pretty old school. We don't have any fancy systems we bring in. We bring in ourselves, and we bring in a notepad and a pen, and just draw a line down the middle for service-oriented kinds of questions. And then on the other side of that line is sales types of insights that we might get. And so if somebody is saying, my friend was talking about you on Facebook, and they had this really cute pair of pink boots that I want to get, and I don't know where to get them, and I don't see them on your site, blah, 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 we'll put that under the sales question of like, okay, people want pink boots. They think these are really cute. So maybe we need a page that will start to rank for pink UGG boots or pink boots or whatever, right? So that might be the insight we put on the sales side. On the service side, we're listening for things like, I'm having trouble with or how do I fill in the blank, or where can I, it's a lot of the who, what, hows, whys types of questions.
Yeah, excellent. So that's a great starting point for content, not only for e-commerce sites, because some of the listeners here are not, they might be in B2B or, running blogs or something. So the idea there, just to distill it down, is to listen to your customers. As you said, it's not rocket science, but you need to listen to your customers and answer their questions. And you can do so by creating content on your blog or your website that answers that question. What are some other types of content that you found works really well for e-commerce?
Yeah. So, excuse me. So the service-oriented content has worked really well. This might not be applicable to all businesses, but for e-commerce clients, a lot of times there's a great product that was out, 5 seasons ago, and now it's no longer available. But in the shoe industry, and some of our clients are in the cycling and kind of fitness industry now too. There's been updates to the products. So yeah, that particular model came out 5 seasons ago, but every season a new update to it with better technology or better fit or better whatever the case may be has come out, and the names tend to slightly change over those seasons of improving the product. And so if somebody says, I'm looking for the pterodactyl Teva sandal, for example, that came out in 2007, well, we have the essence of that sandal, but it's just called this now. And so what we call related styles pages have been ranking phenomenally well in organic. They convert like crazy in paid. Customer service departments and call centers love these things because they can just go into site search on a site and search pterodactyl, and then they get all the related styles that the pterodactyl could now be, right? And so, that's, again, not rocket science. It's such an easy win. And these pages are often templated. So, we can work with the design team to get the template into a CMS and then teach the marketing department how to just whip up these new templates with the right SEO information.
That's great. How do you feel about lifestyle types of blog content? So if it's a shoe company, people might be interested in hiking or fashion. Did you see content like that work well? Like you basically deliver kind of informational / maybe slightly entertainment types of content to your target demographic?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the everything we just talked about is kind of the roadmap of how we roll out the content, right? Go for the quick wins with service oriented, start talking about some related styles and more kind of sales type content. And then we'll take the content a little more upper funnel where we're trying to grow the brand or we're trying to get engagement, and sales and revenue aren't the direct priorities for that piece of content. And so if we measure it on an ROI, direct revenue kind of basis, that type of content doesn't win, so to speak, right? But, it's getting phenomenal reach on social. It's getting phenomenal video views, if that's what the manifestation of that content is. It's getting tons of pins on Pinterest. And so that tends to be content that fits the consumer's lifestyle, but isn't directly related to the product. And so an example of that for UGG, for example, UGG is a cold weather brand primarily, though they do have seasonal or year-round offerings rather. But everybody knows it for its cold weather product. And so what else do you do in the cold weather? You're outside when it's cold. You're skiing. You're doing snow sports. You're or when it's cold out, you're huddled up inside by the fire, right? And you're reading. You're playing crossword puzzles or hanging out with your children or whatever, right? And so we've created content around all those moments when you could be using the product to kind of inform and entertain and educate. One example of a kind of a home run piece of content we had done was, so UGG has a relationship with Tom Brady. And when the Patriots had made it to the Super Bowl, we did this great how to throw a Super Bowl party kind of thing. And it was in UGG's tone and voice. So it's not your, typical hot wings and Bud Light kind of party. It's a little more elevated. It's a little more, some great bourbon drinks, some great kind of gourmet appetizers, just a really kind of elevated piece. And it wasn't about the UGG brand at all. Of course, we were able to throw in some of the men's premium slippers in there as just kind of like a, and you might want these type thing. But it was a piece meant to reach the men, which was a brand goal, and do so in a really fun, engaging way. And that piece of content, even after the Super Bowl, continued to get shared multiple times over.
So can you so what was that piece of content? Was it text? Was it, I didn't quite catch was it images? What exactly was that?
Yeah, great question. It was a blog post. And so it wasn't anything, super, it wasn't an infographic or anything like that. It was just a blog post that had some really great imagery and some text.
And how did that idea come about?
It came about through actually all of the kind of insights gathering, the listening to calls, site search. Deckers has done a phenomenal job of doing really well thought out market research. And so they conduct focus groups all the time around the entire world, global focus groups. And so, the insights came about through all that research and kind of bringing it all together as a team.
Excellent. I love all this stuff. I'm taking a lot of notes, and I actually myself, so I try to make these shows something that I will actually go back and listen to as well. Putting myself in the mind of my listener, I was actually just listening to yesterday's episode with Shawn Menz of Remove about link penalties and stuff. I've listened to probably each episode 2 or 3 times. I mean, there's so many things I hope people are catching from what you're saying and going back and taking notes that I'm finding this super valuable. So hopefully that means the audience does as well. I want to shift to promotion a little bit because you can create the content, and maybe for a brand, you have one leg up because you're already kind of a known site with hopefully a high domain authority. And so when you push out content, maybe it will rank and kind of promote itself. Was there anything proactively that you had to do, though, to promote content? Were you doing it organically through social? Were you pointing Facebook ads at it? Were you, dare I say, link building for anything? What were kind of promotion aspects for you there?
Yeah, we're actually in the middle of this right now for one of our cycling clients. So they are a women's cycling brand, relatively small in the global sense. They're partnered with one of the largest men's cycling companies in the world. So they have a little bit of brand recognition, but not a ton. And so we're in the phase where we're just building this brand in the digital space. They didn't even have e-commerce on their site. So revenue and ROI that you can measure through revenue isn't priority number one. Excuse me. And so, we're starting out with a very small but loyal kind of consumer base, and we're just trying to reach more consumers and find more of those consumers and invite them into the brand. And so we just launched the spring campaign for the cycling client, and their audience is helping share it. The organic share metrics on Facebook. It's a video campaign, and we're following it up with a lot of mini content pieces. But the launch video has been shared organically a huge amount of times rather. Anything more than I ever could have predicted. But we're also having to put a lot of paid dollars, and we knew we were going to have to put paid dollars behind it. So we're putting paid dollars behind it on Instagram. We're putting paid dollars behind it on Facebook. Twitter isn't really where this consumer is hanging out, so we're not investing too much in Twitter. And then we're also going to start doing some YouTube paid promotion, and that's really igniting. Let me just back up for a minute and say that this campaign is resonating with the core consumer so well. And that's priority number one. We could put tons of paid dollars behind something that just is missing the mark. And yeah, we'll get paid views, and yeah, there will be probably some good stories to tell there. But because this is resonating so well, we're spending less than, we're spending less than probably $5,000 total promoting this. And we're already at 500,000 views.
Wow, that's incredible. And a lot of that, like you said, is paid. There's a lot of stuff to unpack here, starting with, you mentioned finding new customers. Now, is that something you're just intending on happening organically through the spread of this, or are you actually like going through tools or like research to proactively find these customers and reach them?
Yeah, we did an early on kind of persona development exercise where we are doing some of that insights gathering and that customer listening and finding where these people or these women are hanging out. What are they reading? What social media platforms are they using? And we're talking a global campaign too, so it's not just Facebook and Instagram in the US. So we gathered all those insights from the social listening, developed the different personas of who they are, their age ranges, occupations, all that kind of stuff. And the easiest place to go to with that data is Facebook, because you can build audiences on some of those exact demographics, right? And it's Facebook targeting is really intelligent, and I'm really coming to love it much more than I did even just a year ago.
So you said social listening to find the customers and the personas. Are there tools that you go to for that, or how do you do that?
No, nothing fancy for this client because they don't have a huge budget. Obviously, if there are fantastic tools, we'll leverage those. But this and we're not, we don't have anything proprietary that we're using yet either. But when we say social listening, nothing fancy. We're just going out to For example, so this client has a brand new triathlon bike that they launched last spring, and it was the major push for the entire year. And so we went out to all these triathlon groups on Facebook and just became members of them. And we've had members of the client's team and our own staff here that love triathlons, and so it's coming from a very authentic place when we do join these groups. But we just sit back and listen to what the conversations these women are having, and pulling insights out of that. So it's nothing sophisticated or fancy. It's pretty, ragtag, if you will.
It's just great people skills. And it goes back to, like you said at the very beginning, studying people. You're just doing it online. So for some of the listeners out there, definitely check out Facebook groups as a place that you can learn about your customers if they happen to be kind of in a group, like you said there in Facebook. Yeah. So tell me a little bit about this video content. I would imagine, obviously, the quality has to be really nice. And like you said, it has to be super targeted towards the demographic and just hit the nail on the head. So what was kind of the process of really figuring out what this video content would be?
Yeah, so we knew from all of our social listening and just kind of insights gathering that women really feel empowered when they're on their bicycle, whether it's road, trail, both, right? It's just this moment of them and the beauty of nature around them and conquering this mountain or conquering this 100-mile ride in front of them, right? It's really this kind of just empowered moment. And so if we can tap into the emotion of that empowered moment in a really authentic way, we know that this video could have some legs organically, right? And so, we worked with PR teams, we worked with obviously the video production teams, client teams, et cetera. Product teams were hugely valuable in this process to really just kind of storyboard out what this video could look like. And the campaign is called Actually I Can. And so when the world is telling you, you can't do this, you can't do that, actually I can, right? And the video itself is beautiful. These women, there's multiple shots, these women on these bikes, and you just see sweat pouring down their faces. And, they're huffing and they're puffing, and it's nothing glamorous or sexy even. It's just so raw. And so every woman who's a cyclist or even wannabe cyclist can resonate with those moments. And it's just beautiful, women empowerment moment in the video that, the video kind of peaks at that moment. And it's actually I can. And you just leave the video feeling so So, and so that speaks to women all over the world, not just cyclists. And that was the intention of it too. We want to go after kind of tertiary audiences with this.
I love that. It really hits kind of an emotional center in a really nice way. Now I kind of want to check out the campaign. It sounds really cool.
Yeah, I'll send you a link to it after.
So any other promotion avenues that you see effective for content? Are you doing anything even close to outreach? Or, personally, we don't do a lot of that because we like to pursue more organic methods. Right. But what else kind of happens or what else do you pursue in terms of promotion?
Yeah, we don't do a ton of outreach ourselves either. What we have found to be actually way more successful and way more efficient is just partnering with these clients' PR teams. And fortunately, we are in the position where all of our clients do have really great PR teams. I understand not every business has that yet, but our clients do, and their PR teams are so phenomenal. And so if we can deliver these insights to the PR teams and deliver the content pieces and also work with them throughout the entire process to make sure we're developing something that's pitchable, right? That's what this is all predicated on if we're talking to a PR team, that their outreach is going to get us so much further than our own just kind of link building, if you will, outreach.
Yeah, so you hinted on it there. What are some things either the marketers could do to help PR teams be more effective, or what are maybe some common mistakes that you see PR companies making, despite them being good, but a lot of them are still catching up to the digital environment? So what are some holes to fill there?
You're right. A lot of them are still catching up to the digital environment. What we found so successful, it can be a little intimidating to a PR team initially. If we just come in, not necessarily guns blazing, I think that might be how they feel sometimes. If we just come in with all this enthusiasm of all these great insights we have and all this great data we can share and all these things we want to develop, and do you think you could reach this media outlet with this content piece? And, we have all these ideas that we just blast them with. That's where we've gone wrong in the past. It's, PR teams are very prideful of what they do, and they should be. The work they do is so important. But we have to take a more kind of slow growth approach where, literally the first call is just an introduction. we ask maybe a few questions of, hey, we're thinking about this. Is that something that your media contacts would even be interested in? Kind of warm them up to the potential to partner with us. Because ironically, a lot of PR teams haven't worked with digital teams before, even with the onslaught of Panda and how important that is. PR teams are still kind of in their own worlds, and digital marketers, for that matter, are still in their own worlds, not talking to PR teams at all. And so the more kind of warming up we do with them, the more we can start to get them addicted, for lack of better terms, to our data. And they love that data because finally we can start to show them your PR efforts mean this. And a lot of PR teams don't have that. They just have impressions that their magazine reached or impressions that blog post reached, right? They're not seeing it tie back to the entire ecosystem of what that behavior was on the website for those people who came through that media outlet, or how many more likes we got on Facebook because of that media run, or whatever the case may be, right? They love that data. And that's our foot in the door to start hammering harder on some of these content pieces that we love them to do the outreach for us on.
Absolutely. So that's one of the big value adds that a digital agency has for a PR company, like you said, is providing metrics and layering that on top of what they do. That's something we've definitely done as well. Let's talk about another kind of integration between departments. So SEO and PPC. We touched upon that a little bit. Can you talk a little bit more, though, about why is it necessary and smart to do both, and how can those two teams kind of work better together?
Yeah. We actually just wrapped up a test of with one of our clients in the fitness space of, do we need to be there in paid? This was, their question. I know the answer to this just through the years of experience. But do we need to be there in paid if we're doing so well in brand and non-brand keywords in organic? And the results of the test continue to be the same. Of when you're running both, we're seeing about a 30% lift in overall revenue. When you're running a very high position in paid, a very high position in organic, you're going to get about 30% lift in revenue and even more in traffic. When you cut paid out of the picture, you still get the organic revenue, and organic does kind of take over for some of that lost paid to about a 15% lift, but you're still having a net 15% loss in total revenue. And I have seen those exact numbers, and they vary a few percentage points, but I've seen those exact numbers across 5 different clients, 5 different tests that we've run over the years. Continues to be the same. So I'm very passionate that yes, paid and organic have a place at the table, the Google results page table. They both are important. They both need to be there. And as much as your budget allows, you need to be as high as you can in both.
It's interesting you mentioned sorry to interrupt, the 30% number. I don't know if you heard, but Chevy did a study where they shut off PPC for 2 weeks and they lost 30% of their organic traffic, I think, or click-through. Do you remember this?
Yeah, I never read that or heard about that. That's so funny, though.
Yeah, I know I'm being a little anecdotal with it. I know we could dig up the exact number, but what do you think's happening there? Is it that people see both results, so then they they choose the brand? Like, what is going on there? Yeah.
I will put the caveat in that my testing and my experience has been with brand side clients, so clients that are the brand themselves. And so there's that brand recognition that just comes along with, and the motivation behind somebody searching a brand keyword, even a non-brand keyword. If I search, what might be an example, just women's bikes, right? And I know about this particular brand of bikes, and I see it in organic and I see it in paid. Oh, that's going to register. Oh, I heard about that somewhere. Yeah, that's the one I'm going to click, right? So I will put that disclaimer in there that my experience might not be applicable to all e-commerce sites, but take it for what it is. So I think there's that at play, just the brand recognition and that recall when they do see the number one spot in both. But I also think that there's just the reinforcement itself on the Google search page. You might not know about this brand, but you're seeing it in multiple places. And hopefully you're also showing up in the product listing ads, right? Those image ads within AdWords. And so you can really dominate page one, which is a fantastic strategy and worth dominating page one in and of itself to just be in multiple places. And so you stand multiple chances to get that click.
Excellent.
And I think that's where a big piece of it's coming from too.
So one little tactical thing I'm going to put out there, we've been doing this with some clients, is if you run, and I'm sure you've done this as well, if you run through Google Webmaster Tools or Search Analytics, the current search queries, non-branded, that you're ranking on page one for, and then match that against, are you running ads for those keywords? Oftentimes I'll tell clients to start running ads for where they're already ranking on page one organic, but they're not running the ads. Or maybe just make sure that they're running the right ads with the right copy and the right landing page for those. One thing I've heard about lately, and I've been wanting to try this, have you used PPC ads to test copy for click-through rate and then bring that back into organic?
I have. Yeah, I have. That's actually a strategy that oddly I haven't heard very many people do, but it just seems so smart. We use PPC, and we're using Facebook ads now to test ad copy for not only page titles, meta descriptions, and SEO, but email subject lines, for example.
Oh, good idea.
Print ads. If somebody's going to go invest a couple $1 million in a print ad, well, let's do a proof of concept in a Facebook ad because it's essentially going to look the same, and we can run multiple variations and see what consumers are going to resonate with.
So let me just highlight again. So you're using Facebook ads to test copy for print ads.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Oh, I love that. That is something I had not heard of before, and I'm definitely going to be recommending that to some people that I can think of. I love that advice. Can we shift quickly to just product pages in general? Like, what are some mistakes that you see brands making on their product pages? Are they including too much stuff? Not optimizing the copy? Like, what are some things brands could do better in general with product pages? Yeah,
a couple of things. One, I would say the biggest opportunity is stop with the industry language. Not everybody knows what a midsole is if you're talking shoe companies, but not everybody knows what a I don't even know, like the suspension on a bicycle, right? The technical terms for that. Not everybody knows that stuff. You got to make it approachable for the consumers that are brand new to your brand and make it inviting and, invite them in, and invite them to the experience, make it inclusive. And so many brands just take whatever is in their technical products catalog and slap that on the website and call it good. And so you're missing so many keyword opportunities, right? So there's a big search mistake there that you're making. Instead of calling it a midsole, maybe it's called what might be an example? Maybe it's just something that's like a comfortable shoe, right? They're looking for a comfortable shoe. What makes it comfortable is that midsole. Right. So put some of those terms in there. It's just like, it's such a, slap my forehead moment when I see this stuff. I'm like, come on, guys, nobody knows these technical things that you're talking about. Let's dumb it down and let's make it a little more approachable. And let's work those keywords in. I'd say that's kind of mistake number one, or opportunity number one, that I continue to see, even on sites that we're not helping or managing or have any experience with.
What about for mobile and when it comes to product pages? Do you see any big opportunities there for brands?
Not too much. The big opportunity I see, and maybe it's not necessarily just product pages, because I see it definitely more on home and kind of top level category pages, is they try to fit everything in on the mobile experience that they have on the desktop experience. And so what it means is you're fitting all your content up above the first 3 swipes you're going to do on your phone. And then all the sales stuff is on the bottom. And on the mobile experience, yeah, I could argue both sides that content needs to be there, but also the sales, needs to be there. But it has to be a good, healthy blend. And you can't just shove all the important actions that you want the consumer to take all the way at the bottom. And I guess that's the big one I continue to see.
So is that a matter of just having a better responsive design, if that's what they're using, or a better mobile design? What do you, and by the way, what are you seeing that brands are favoring now or working best? Is it responsive? Is it a separate mobile site? Is it AMP pages? What's the best way to go there?
Yeah, responsive is commonly what I'm seeing. I'm not seeing any issues with that. I don't have any clients that have a separate mobile domain, no M dots out there, which is really awesome to see. Some of these kind of more traditional clients have kept up in that regard. Usually what I see when I talk these issues about, your sales content's pushed all the way to the bottom, or your most valuable content's pushed all the way to the bottom, usually it's a function of the desktop site just having too much content on the homepage, for example, right? Brands love to have their big, beautiful brand imagery splash over the homepage and their launch video or their campaign video there. And, an athlete, if we're talking some of these outdoor fitness sites, athlete news splash all over the homepage. And then at the bottom, it's, sign up for email, or it's view product, or it's, and I think maybe, I don't know if that necessarily needs to be flip-flopped exactly, right? But there needs to be a better blend of that. And I'm a direct response marketer at heart. I love getting people straight into the sales funnel as much as and as quickly as we can. And so when I see a campaign video take up the whole above the fold space, I cringe. And especially if you see it on mobile.
So I want to make sure we leave time for something you call the last 3 feet. And is this kind of your term that you made up?
Yeah, it is. It's a term that I've seen just resonate so well. So the idea of last 3 feet is when we are talking to some of these traditional kind of retailers that have gotten their starts, the guys who've been around 20 plus years have gotten their starts in the offline space. The last 3 feet of retail space is a concept that they just know. It's something they've lived their entire careers, right? And so if I'm talking to them and trying to sell them on the value of digital or the value of search particularly, if I put it in their terms with this last 3 feet concept, I really start getting places. Things really start firing. And so what I how I frame it up is your Google search results page is effectively your last 3 feet of retail space. If a customer is walking up to a wall of shoes at an REI, if you're a shoe retailer, your job is to get your shoe popping in that last 3 feet. That last 3 feet is the decision point the consumer is going to make, which brand they pull off the wall, which shoe they try on, which one they ultimately buy. You've got to own that last 3 feet. You've got to make your stuff pop in that last 3 feet. And so the Google search results page is our last 3 feet. And the way we can make our brand pop and our products pop is dominating that first results page. And we've got to dominate that. Yeah, it's great to have affiliate partners, retail partners, et cetera, show up on that page along with us. But we've got to be there as strongly as we possibly can to be able to get the sale, to own the brand message, to portray the brand in the right light, to push down any bad press, or in the case of some of the brands I've managed in the past, counterfeiters are a problem. Push them off page one, really own that last 3 feet, and show up as much as we can, whether it's video, paid search, Google PLA ads, of course, organic, rich snippets, etc. It runs the gamut. All these manifestations are so important. And owning that last 3 feet is a concept that they can really get excited about and wrap their heads around and start to see how it all ties to the offline environment too.
I love it. So that's basically a metaphor for comparing Google to the last 3 feet of, like you said, approaching the shoes. I really like that. One last thing too, is you mentioned that there's a counterfeit problem. And so can you talk to me a little bit about that and what brands need to be aware of in terms of counterfeit issues?
Yeah, boy, we could talk all day about this one. So, the counterfeiters are out there. They're out there with unimaginable size budgets. I don't even know the dollar amounts that these guys are working with, but they have really huge budgets, and they are just out there doing every black hat thing in the book. And
this is like somebody selling fake Nike shoes or something. They're selling a fake product.
Yeah.
And what do? They build a fake website? Like, do they actually try to come off as Nike, or what is the experience for the user?
Yeah. So they'll literally rip the code off of the actual brand site, go spin up their new site. They'll translate it into the local language. Often it's, Mandarin or Japanese or something like that. And, sell these products. And they're fulfilling the products most of the time, but they're fulfilling it with the fakes. And in the holiday season, when all these highly valued and highly brands that are in high demand, it's their peak season. These counterfeiters have been working all year to get all these hundreds of counterfeit sites popping to number one for the key terms that they've identified, right? And so it's a real big problem when you're there on Black Friday or Cyber Monday trying to show up for all these terms that you need to show up for, and the counterfeiters are popping to number one. And for a period of time, they were popping number one in paid too, and the Google algorithms wasn't catching them.
So if somebody sees a counterfeiter in the search results for their brand, what are some steps they can take? Is it kind of too late when that happens? Do you have to be preventative about it? How does that work?
Yeah, from the brand side, if you start to see them, you're going to have to kind of eat it for that season. Unfortunately, there's not much you can do except get on the phone with your AdWords team and get these guys off the paid results as quickly as you can. But it's a game of whack-a-mole. It's a 24/7 job, literally. And then just come back smarter the next season and leverage your affiliate partners has been a huge tactic that's been wildly successful for some of the brands I manage. Really partner throughout the year with your affiliate partners to give them the content, give them the keywords, give them the rights to show up in paid search for those terms that are going to matter in those last 6 weeks of the year, so that you can push those guys as much as possible down to page 2.
Oh, wow. So you can actually give affiliates the rights to run PPC ads on your brand.
Yeah, you'll have to do what's right for your business in terms of profitability, because they'll need increased commissions to do that. And these are terms that are pretty competitive anyway, so the CPCs will be really high. So you have to be smart and strategic about that. But yeah, I can't rave enough about the partnerships we've had with about 4 key affiliates and how well they have been willing to work with some of the brands I managed in the past to help us overcome this problem. And it's because we've built quality relationships with them. It literally takes flying out to their offices and spending a day with them and just giving them some attention and nurturing that relationship for the entire year. And they'll be there for you when it matters. Yeah,
that's great. I mean, that's another reason to have an affiliate program other than increased revenue, is to kind of protect against, like you said, the counterfeit issue.
Exactly.
This has been a fantastic interview. There's so much stuff that I hope the listeners will take away, and we create show notes for every show. So for everyone listening, don't forget to go to evolvingseo.com/wire for the list of all of the episodes where you can find all of the show notes. Can I ask you one last quick question that we have in the notes here? Because I think some retailers might like to hear about Amazon as a search engine, or maybe some of the value that brands can get from being in Amazon. Can you just speak to that for a minute?
Yeah. So quickly, Amazon in my book is one of the necessary evils, right? It's not this beautiful marketplace where you're really proud to have your brand. It's very templated, and Amazon's kind of got you by the, you got to do what they say and how they say it. But it's where consumers are. Only more so with Prime continuing to evolve and have a bigger play in the consumer's wallet, right? So you've got to be there. And if you're not there, then your competitors are certainly going to be there. And your retailers are certainly going to be there if that's a channel that you have. And they might not be there in the most brand appropriate ways. They might be severely discounting your brands or having misinformation or, runs the gamut of the problems that presents. But if you're there and you say you are the brand, you can help control that product page a lot more. The information that's portrayed on that product page.
Absolutely. So the general recommendation is to be in Amazon if you're a retailer. Are there any one or two, mistakes or easy wins for brands, like in terms of setting up their page or their products?
Again, might not apply to everybody, but one of the great wins you can have. So what you're battling for when you're on Amazon is the buy box, right? Mm. So if any merchants or consumers are doing fulfilled by Amazon, they're going to get up to 75% of that buy box. And then everybody who's in the marketplace side of Amazon is going to get the other 25%. So you might not get a ton of revenue by being on Amazon, especially if you're fulfilling out of your own warehouses. But you can, like I said, control that brand message. So that's a great way to be there. But the way you can get more buy box percentages is offering products that not every retailer is going to offer. So you might develop a line of products just for Amazon that you can own 100% of that buy box and do really well on, or do your full product catalog, but only offer certain things to merchants that are going to be on Amazon, so you can fill in those gaps. And if you're filling in those gaps that retailers aren't going to fill in anyway, and they're covering kind of your hero products, then that's a great relationship that you guys have mutually agreed on and is only going to benefit everybody.
Excellent. So you've got some kind of unique things just exclusive to Amazon is kind of the idea there.
Yeah.
Very nice. Wow. We have covered a lot of stuff. Definitely go check out your website, Katherine's website, which is MAKA Digital.com. How do I pronounce that, by the way? Is it MAKA?
You got it. It is MAKA, MAKADigital.com.
Where does that name come from, by the way?
We went back and forth on so many names. It's just the first two letters of my name, Katherine, and the first two letters of Margaret name. So MAKA, MAKA.
There you go. I love it. It has a nice story to it. So definitely check out MAKA Digital and definitely follow Katherine on Twitter. And I have your Twitter right here. It's just Katherine Romero on Twitter. KATHERINEROMERO. I got all that out correct. And once again, thanks everyone for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.